Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another time here, another time on the book club. So glad you could make it. So glad you could come. And we pretty much been leading ourselves. Do I say leading ourselves? That's more like the way I talk when I'm doing my prayer meeting. But we've been reading this book, uh, Bethenny Frankel. That's what we've been reading for a few weeks now. And today last week we closed out chapter 4. Last week was our first meeting this year, and we did the third part of chapter 4. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 5. We might need 2 or 3 weeks to close it out. We'll see if we can finish it next week. But we'll start this week. And I don't want to rush it. Each time I do a long one, it goes like 1 hour. Really, initially, we're supposed to be doing this for 30 minutes, right? Though we don't seem to limit ourselves with time, especially when I have a few of my people here and we're discussing, we kind of let the discussion flow. And so we're going to shoot to do the first part today. We'll see if we can finish it next week. I doubt. We'll probably go 3 weeks to finish chapter 5. But today we're going to go on to chapter 5. And the title of chapter 5 is Stay 5 Steps Ahead. Right? The only way you're going to stay ahead is when you're thinking. So the focus is going to be talking about how to apply our mental faculty to the issues of life, to our business, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at. The title stays 5 steps ahead. And the only way you can stay 5 steps ahead is to be thinking, right? Like Albert Einstein would tell us, knowledge is limited, but imagination is limitless. The only way you can travel into the future is with your imagination, right? And you can prepare for it by thinking, by planning, by constructing the future you want, designing the future you want. You're right. So that's what we're going to be focused on here. So today we're pretty much going to do the introduction to it. Let's run through and see the different parts, even in chapter 5. So it's a kind of introduction to the topic. Then she has a drink to that, which I was talking about, I guess, how she designed our own cocktail, which he later sold. Then we'll talk about shut it down. That's another title. And we will close with the big picture is made up of small details. That's the last subsection here. So we'll see how we can, if we'll be able to finish all of that next week. To this week, I'm just going to do an introduction to the chapter, and we'll take the main meat next week and see if we can finish it next week or more, or do it in 2 weeks. But either way, it will be with the intent of soaking as much as we can from the chapter, right? We don't want to drag it, and we don't want to be too much in a hurry. So that's how that has us. All right. So let me go ahead and bring up my slides here, and we'll run it and we'll shoot it. So like I said, the book, business is personal, right? That's the topic of the book. And the way she summarizes the book is pretty much the truth of what it takes to be successful, right? And to be successful while being true to yourself, not losing who you are while you're being successful. It's pretty much the secret to having it all, right? Succeeding with a person that you liking yourself while you succeed, not losing or selling yourself or living against your values, living against your belief system, but being able to stay with your belief system, your values, and succeeding, right? Like I say again, I love Jim C. Collins in his book, Good to Great, talks about the genius of the hand and the tyranny of the all, right? The immature people, amateurs, will typically go for all, or you either do this or do that. You can't have it all, but place of maturity, the professional person who is able to use, it's not easy, but it's possible. Again, we don't come here to share things that are easy. We come here to share things that are possible. We're all about getting the maximal benefit of living, maximal benefit of life. It's not about whether I'm a Christian or I am rich. It's about being a Christian and being rich, or whatever religion yours is. It's that I am spiritual and I'm rich. Not because I'm being spiritual, then I use that as an excuse for not being rich or not succeeding in my profession, right? That's a lie. That's an excuses don't work, right? We don't come here to do excuses. We come here to do life the way life is supposed to be done, right? So let's move on a slide here. So again, that's the book. Like I've shown you my copy here, right? I'll show you my copy here. So we are on to chapter 5, and the subtopic there, which is the title for the whole chapter is Stay 5 Steps Ahead. And like I said, just pretty much encouraging us to think. Again, the way God created us is to be able to think. We are most like God when we think. When we don't think, we're least like God. God created us a living soul, a living intellect, a living will, a living emotion. He created us with the ability to think. And to help us to think, he gave us free agency. He gave us free agency. Muscle, he gave us liberty. With agency comes liberty to choose. God does not enforce anything on us. It's religious people that enforce things on us. God Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, does not enforce anything on us. He has given us free agency. It's for us to choose. The only problem is whatever we choose has consequence to it. So if we make the wrong choice, we have to live with the consequence. If we make the right choice, we'll live with the consequence. But he wants us to choose. He does not choose for us. He will say, I give you life and death. Choose life, or I can't force it on you. It has to be your choice. God does not force anything on you. God does not even force you to go to heaven. Don't mind religious people. There's no place there's no place where God forces you. It's a choice. You don't have to go to heaven, right? It's a choice. You don't have to live well. Oh, it's a choice. You don't have to be successful. It's not a choice. It's not compulsory. It's a choice. You have to make your choice, right? Because whatever choice you make has consequences, has requirements, right? It has things you have to live up to whatever path you go. That's a problem in churches today, because people were forced to go into church. Therefore, they don't know that they have things that they must do because now they're in church. Someone begged them to go to church, so they now want church on their own terms, not on church term, on their own term, right? It's not their fault. It's because people force them rather than allowing them to make their own decision. Because when you make your decision, then you are responsible for the decision you have made. When someone forces you, you simply can give the excuse, wanting the other person to be responsible for your decision, right? That's not the way life works. You remain a baby all your life, right? Life requires you to make decisions and stand by your decisions, lead by your decisions. That's how you mature. It doesn't matter whether it's a right decision or the wrong decision. You learn. You make a wrong decision, you learn from it and learn to make a better decision next time, right? If you don't make decisions, you will not learn, you will not improve your ability to think. For as long as you don't make decisions, you will not be good at thinking. You'll be an immature person at the thinking realm, right? That's how we make babies of adults. That's how parents are think, oh, I have to guide my children. I have to guide my children. Let them make it. You're raising a baby, not a child. Same thing in churches where the pastor thinks he is the one that must tell everybody what to do. You're not raising adults. You are raising children. Let them go. Let them live. Let them grow. Release them. Release them. Release them. Release them. Let them grow. Right? So let's go into the meat. So Bethenny makes a statement in her book, says to be successful in business, whether as an entrepreneur or in corporate America, well, she's in America, wherever your country is, corporate Nigeria, corporate wherever you find yourself, you have to be firstly aware of what is happening around you, right? You have to be firstly aware of what is happening around you and understand what it means to you, right? There's something I probably missed in that sentence, so let me look at the book itself. I probably missed the word because that's not reading well. It says that, and I missed the word and, right? You have to understand what's happening around you and understand what it means to you, right? You have to understand what it means to you. So it's not just being aware of what's around you. You have to interpret it in terms of what it means to you. Remember what you said about when you're going into a business, that you have to do a SWOT analysis, right? You have to do a SWOT analysis. That's SWOT. Yeah, you do the SWOT analysis, but it's not only when you're about starting. You have to continuously do that on a periodic basis because things are changing. Because you've started a business doesn't mean everything is static at that point where you start the business. You have to keep evaluating where you are as against where you want to get to. Against, you will remember that famous quote by I think it's Socrates. He says that an unexamined life is a life that is not worth living. An unexamined business is a business that is not worth doing. An unexamined life is the life that is not worth living. An unexamined business is a business that's not worth doing. So that's be a continuous process of examining where you are, vis-a-vis where you used to be, vis-a-vis where you want to get to, right? Find out the things that have changed, what they mean to you, how you need to adjust your plan so that you'll be able to still meet the target that you're focusing towards, right? So that's important, right? So it's about understanding your environment, understanding what is going on, and being able to interpret on how it affects you, right? And we said it's the SWOT analysis. S stands for strength, right? W stands for weaknesses, your weakness. And O stands for the opportunities, and T stands for the threats that are to you, right? These are changing also as the day goes by. So you do that before you start your business, so you have a plan for your business. But on a regular basis, you need to check where these are because they are changing also as time elapses, so that you can test your plan, test the things you are focused on doing, the things you're doing, to see if they are still going to help you and get you to where you want to get to. Otherwise, you might miss it because those things have changed, right? First of all, you were changing also. You're learning new things. It's like me on my farm. When I started the farm back in 2021, I was zero. I had no clue about farming. I thought I knew about farming, but what I know today tells me I knew nothing about farming, right? But then I kind of just took the leap, and I'm finding my wings on the way down, right? So I'm becoming stronger, right? And that will affect, and it's affecting my plans, right? There are my weaknesses also. There are things I can do, right? I'm here, my family's all the way in Ibadan, right? I have a full-time job. I can get myself on the road every so often, right? I'm busy also. Other than my job, I do a lot of things, including what I'm doing right now, right? That limits my movement. So I have to be able to temper my movement as against what's going on there, what I can do, not do. I have to be able to depend on my workforce, for certain things. I have to be able to tie to other people also, in different ways to help me, right, get things done, right? So I'm getting to know a lot of farmers also, building a network, right? I have a network of someone in Abeokuta, I have a network of someone in Ekpe, or people in Ekpe. I have someone that, God just touched to work for me here from Osun State, only that was the week before, right? I just posted I needed something, and his heart, kind of clicked to go after doing it for me, and he went out to get it for me. Never met him before in my life, and he was able to do it, and he got the benefit for doing it, but I also got to meet someone out in that where Woven stays close to me, and she's way ahead of me, in that business. And I'm keyed in to learn a lot and work on, pretty much get the benefit of what she's learned, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Right. Those are things that are coming, and I'm making adjustment based on new knowledge, new connections, new network, and so those are opportunities for me, right? With the lady I met, she's into yam, she's into plantain, she's into starch. Those are things I want to go into that I don't have. I don't have the market for yam. I don't have the market for plantain. She does. I'm just going to key into that. She's planning to starch. I don't. But I have the cassava, so I'm keen into that. You see, so there are opportunities as well. So there are threats. There are things that can go wrong. We have the drivers within our area, suddenly want to have a uniform pricing, right? Meaning that irrespective of what we call to work, we're not getting the benefit of scale. We're moving a lot of laterite because we're doing backfilling, right? And we need to get some discount for the number of trucks we're moving, But then they come with a uniform pricing, becomes a threat. More money to spend, and we need to work around things like that also, So it's all about it's a changing environment, right, for you as a person, as a business, and you don't want it to catch you unawares, right? You don't want it to catch you unawares. You have to stay ahead of the game. The way to win in life, the way to win in anything at all, is always to be ahead of the ball game, because when you're ahead of the ball game, it doesn't hit you suddenly, right? You are prepared for it. Again, we'll say that luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. When you're prepared for it, then luck is on your side. When you're not prepared for it, then luck is against you, right? We got it shared last week, and we said that luck looks at the face of who it goes to. Luck doesn't just go to everybody, right? But when you're prepared, luck is your friend. When you're not prepared, luck might be your enemy, right? And that's what Sun Tzu was talking about here in his book, The Art of War. Sun Tzu will tell you that if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles, right? If you know the enemy, you know your strength, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threats, right? Strength and weakness, you. Opportunity and threats, the enemy, right? If you know that and you can plan to be able to address them, then you need not fear whatever's going on. You are ahead of the ball game. You're 5 steps, 10 steps ahead, right? When you know that. And it's not just to know it at the beginning. You have to keep abreast of it as it changes so that you can have the right plan, right mitigation to address whatsoever might have changed, right? That's important. And the other one, it says that if you know yourself only, yes, you know your strengths and weaknesses, but you don't know the opportunities and threats, right? For every victory, you're going to suffer a loss, right? If you don't know yourself, if you know yourself and you don't know the enemy, you are at risk, right? There might be one government stipulation, one government edit, one government sanction or the other, and everything you're doing can just fall apart like a pack of cards, right? And the last part, he says that if you don't know yourself, you don't know the enemy, then you're in big trouble. Knowledge is important. Knowledge is important. And what you do with that knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is important, but it's potential energy. What you do with that knowledge is power, right? Your ability to turn knowledge, potential energy into power is thinking. In between it is thinking, the ability to organize data, the ability to reason data, the ability to collate data in its right segments in a usable form, The dictionary contains a lot of words, but the dictionary is useless. It cannot do anything. But what makes the dictionary powerful is someone who can go into that dictionary and take out the words, the right words for the occasion, right? Put them where they belong, right? And apply them. Then that dormant dictionary becomes power, right? Let's move it. So just to take another part of that, I was just reading one of my old quotes here by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it says, one ought never to turn one's back on a threatening danger and try to run away from it. And that's important, right? Don't forget, we talked about strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Because it's a threat doesn't mean that you run away from it, right? You can plan for it. You can use that threat to your advantage. Threats and danger are not for running away from. Again, just as much as not all opportunities are to be embraced, all threats are not to be run away from. You use them, you harness them. How can I use this supposed threat to my advantage, right? In every storm, there's a treasure. In every supposed danger, there's a treasure. There's an opportunity. It's your ability to understand it and see how you can harness it, right? So Ralph was just saying, I don't just run. The danger, just run. But you don't know. That reminds me of a wedding I was in years ago when I was serving here in Humai here, right? And I was at the wedding, and suddenly everybody just ran out of the hall, right? And we didn't know what it was, but everybody ran. Thank God nobody ran over the cake. The cake was still intact. It was only after we got out that we started asking ourselves what was wrong. To the best of my knowledge, I still don't remember what was wrong. There's probably nothing wrong, but someone started running and everybody ran out of the wedding hall, with that person. Don't just run, understand the situation, because you might be running into the trouble that you're supposed to be staying away from. Right. And that's again emphasizing that need to think, right? Sally Oxford, has and says, if you're not constantly improving on the work you do, the people and the brand you've created for yourself, then your market value goes down. So again, it's thinking. Your ability to continuously improve is your ability to think, right? We, for one, we're coming into a new farming year, and we need to change the way we get our farm workers, right? The last 1.5 years, we've gotten people from Cotonou, but we've overpaid them. I mean, like last year, we had to get motorcycles, right? For these folks, motorcycles cost 480,000 Naira each, right? We didn't make that much money, but we still had to give it to them because that's what we committed to them at the beginning of the year. So we pretty much made a loss, right? So we're in this new year and giving motorcycle to anybody, right? It's just pay. So we're not at the mercy of inflation, right? Motorcycle guarantees inflation on the side of the worker, but for us, it puts us at a loss. So we're here, what we do is not a charity. So just to let everybody know, we're not taking anybody to give motorcycles. That's gone with yesterday. We're not doing that anymore, right? So you learn, you get better. We have 1.5 years we've been doing this. So in this new year, we're going to learn and we're going to apply what we're learning, to our new year, hopefully to gain all that we have lost in prior years, and that's what we've done here. Started the year, we've gone ahead and we'll put yam on the ground, even though we don't have farm workers, right? We have about more than 1,500 yam seedlings on the ground already. And we're going to have another one here in the next 1 week, if we can get labor to do that, all right? So, yeah, for this year, for me, it's all about massive action. Like Tony would, Tony Robbins would say, success is massive action, and that's what that's my watchword this year: massive action, right? So we have 1,500 of yam seedlings in the ground. We're going to do another 1,500, but this will not be yam seedlings, right? It'll be cut pieces, because the intent will be, if it doesn't grow big enough for sale, we'll use it as yam seedling for our next planting of yam, which will be in the middle of the year, right? So we've learned, we're getting better. We've learned, we're getting better. So that's another value you get by thinking and utilizing what you've learned, right? So we'll move on, and still just focusing on thinking. I love Carl Jung. Typically we typically what Carl Jung did right and say, thinking is difficult, therefore let the heart pronounce judgment. Someone says that's the original writing of what Carl Jung wrote or said. But the popular rendition of that really is the second one. It says thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Rather than think, they judge, right? Rather than processing data, they just pick an opinion, right? Opinion is cheap. Opinion will get you into trouble, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion on everything, even the things they don't know. I remember a colleague of mine were discussing on something that I've worked on, something he's never seen before, yet he's arguing with me on something he has never seen before that I have worked on. That's gotta be crazy. Someone is arguing with me on something I have seen and worked on that he has never seen. That just tells you how people reason, right? Opinion is just you saying something. Opinion is cheap. Work with facts. Work with facts. That's the reason why we need to think. Process the data. Let whatever you're picking, let it have a foundation. Foundation of facts, not factless. Foundation of fact, not factless. That would help your life. Don't follow the head. They just want to go this way. You go this way. Right? They want you to follow them, whether you know what they are doing or not. That'll get into trouble. It's called following the followers game. You're following people who don't know where they are going, but you're just following them. That's just the example I said about the wedding reception in Imo here years ago. The first person ran out of that hall, every other person followed because we thought there's a problem somewhere, only to get out and nobody knew what the issue was. You see? And that's how a lot of people lead their lives. They just following other people. They think those people know, but they don't know. But because they look like they know, everybody follows them. And I've seen that in my life. A lot of people I used to think knew the way. A lot of people I thought were there, I've just come to know they're not. I mean, when the rubber hit the road, the truth came to fore, right? The truth came to fore, right? So you need to reason. God gave us a mind to reason and process data. Let's not give that to someone else. You gotta think. It's not difficult to think. People just think it's difficult, so they run away from it. And that's why their life is no better. Everything about your growth in life, your elevation, your success, all that will make you tick this year will come from your ability to think. Your ability to think. If you cannot think, you will not make it in life, right? And one of the things we process also as we get data, is people, A lot of people, you wouldn't know people just by looking at them, right? So, one of the things I've stayed with me that Maya Angelou says is that when someone shows you who they are, they're called or believe it the first time. I'm 55 years old, and in 55 years, I've gotten to see a lot of fake people. There's a lot of people that behave they are one thing, but they're not, because they failed the test when the rubber hits the road. I've been in depression 2 times, 2 years. Those were times to see people in their true color, right? People I thought who could do things. You know your friends when you're down. and have had that privilege, and a lot of fake people, So one of the things you pick up in the environment is, who is for you, who is not for you, who you can depend on, who you can rely on. You need to start marking that down, because when the rubber hits the road, you don't get surprised, at people's behavior, or you put your eggs in the wrong basket. That's important. You need to pick the signs, right? You need to pick the signs. It's not about what people say, it's what they do. You can rely more on what people say, what people do than what they say. They can say they are your best friend, but when the fruit of that best friendship is called for, do they give it? Do they perform? That's important. Because if they don't perform, then they're not your best friends. They're not. They can say whatever they want to say. They can profess whatever they want to profess. It's when the rubber hits the road, are they there for you? That is what it means. So you need to know your team, so that when the trouble comes, you know who to call on. You don't go call on your enemy when you have trouble. And Bethenny continues and says that not only do you have to learn to think 5 steps ahead, you have to be willing to act on what you see, right? It's not to think, it's not to see, right? It's not to have a plan. You also have to take action on what you see, right? Like I said, this January, we already put 1,500 yam seedlings in the ground. The next thing we want to do right now is put plantain suckers in the ground also. We're only limited because our farm workers are not here yet, but we're gonna, one way or the other, we're not gonna lose that. We're gonna get it done, right? We're gonna get another 1,500 yam yam in the ground, and we're gonna get suckers also, right? Because, like I say, it's massive action for us this year. Massive action. We need to get a good chunk of what we've lost so far back, and we'll get it done. We'll get it done. So again, it's not just a plan. You have to act. You have to make, when you decide, you do. Decide, you do, right? And we'll see here Napoleon Hill talking about 2 people that are popular. Talks about Henry Ford. Henry Ford took action on the plan he had. That's what made the difference for him. He was not just thinking about the wagon with that horse. He put it into action, and he came up with the automobile, right? Thomas Edison did not just have the bulb in his head. He went to work at it. That's how we got the bulb, right? So it's not enough to think about it. You have to try it. You have to take action, and you learn. Like we saw Thomas Edison. He made a mistake. He did have to do 1,000 experiments, trying this, trying that, until he got it. So you need to have grit, right? Not be one that easily gives up. You have to stay with the job until it's done, right? And we go on to the last slide here for this section here. And Bethenny says, I am always tuned in to the culture. That's important, right? If you're in a business, you need to know what is changing in the culture, because don't forget, that's your custom. Those are your customers, right? For instance, as we go into renewable energy, we see that there's more focus on a life without fossils, even though that's a long time coming. But I'm in the oil and gas industry. So what do our companies do? We're getting heavily invested in in renewable energy. So whatever it is, we're going to gain. We're not eating our head on the wall saying nobody must move away from fossil. We know the world is going to need fossil for a foreseeable future. In our lifetime, we'll still be using it, right? But there will always be that agitation move towards renewable energy. So what we've done is we're heavily invested. We do have the funds, and we're heavily invested in the renewables while we're not leading the core of our business, because that's what's going to feed the next gen, right? Same thing we need to apply in our own individual lives, right? There's a culture towards farming. There's money there. That's why we're in there. That's why we're heavily invested in our Greek. For an individual, we're heavily invested in it, and we'll put more in. And what we're doing is nothing compared to what others are doing. My friend was chatting last night, was talking about our own poultry is 30,000 capacity. talks about the poultry that it went to is 120,000. 120,000 bed capacity. So it's 4 times what we're doing. So what I call big is small. It's small, right? But we'll get there. But we need to start from what we're able to carry. And hopefully we'll grow one day to it, right? So it's you have to see what's going on. You know, talking to someone else, also talking about someone that have hectares. I think it was like 900 hectares of palm kernel. And we're just thinking about doing some acres of it, you know. So you've been tuned into it, you see there's business, you see where the money is, and you follow the money. Business is all about following the money, but you must know where the money is going for you to follow it, right? And we wanted to see beyond the moment we're in while still living in the present. You know, don't be stuck where you are. Don't be stuck where you used to be, right? You have a future thinking because you're going to go get to the future. And the only way you can harness the future optimally is to be there before you get there, right? Meaning that you design the future you want, right? You design the future you want so that it will be to you the way you want it, right? And lastly, Democritus talks about what is popular, says, did I jump? That's what Sally Oxted said. If you, all right, we already did Sally Oxted earlier on. So that's what we looked at that earlier up here. Yeah, he's talking about if you're not improving, you know, but like I said, you know, we need to keep improving. I'm going to take it here because of repetition. You know, we just stay with Democritus, and it says, everywhere man blames nature and fate. You know, it's easy to blame fate. Oh, it's because I was born here. It's because I didn't have this, you know. Yet his fate is mostly but the echo of his character and passions, his mistakes and weaknesses. It's all in the hands. Our destiny is in our own hands. It's not in nature. It's not in fate. It's in our own hands. It's in the decisions we make daily. It's in our ability to process, to be aware of and process the data that is all around us and in us. That is what gives us success. To succeed, I must know me. To succeed, I must be aware of my environment. To succeed, I must then harness what is in me and what is outside of me to the intent and purpose and direction of my destiny, my goal, right? That's the way to succeed, you know. So that's all I have. I was supposed to have Nengi here today, but so much he didn't make it. So hopefully we'll make it next time. So I'm going to stop here. God bless you. Thanks for spending this time with me. I guess people there on YouTube, feel free. If there's any question you want me to answer, I'll be open to do that. And I can get back to you on Facebook, on YouTube itself, you know, whichever one you want. All right. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.